Hello, dear friends. Welcome to renewing our self-compassion for the new year. My name is Ben Weinstein, and I'm a teacher of mindful self-compassion. And I'm going to be introducing the session. Dear friends, welcome to renewing our self-compassion for the new year. My name This is an opportunity for reflection, for tapping into our deep, wonderful human resources, for being together as human beings, moving from 2020 to 2021. In a moment, I'll introduce our wonderful teachers for the session. We'd just like to share some guidelines. This is going to be a silent practice event. Silence is something that can be very nourishing and healing, so we invite you, to the degree that feels helpful to you, to also be in silence. If possible, if even just for a few minutes, to let your hands be empty, to set aside your devices and your notifications, and to be as present as you can, as present as is nourishing for you. You are welcome to share in the chat bar at any point you feel moved to do so. We do ask that folks refrain from any discussions of politics or current events and just focus on the experience of being in the retreat in your comments. We're going to alternate periods of guided self-compassion, reflection, and practice with short periods of silence in between our teachers. Our second teacher will be John Julian during the second hour of the practice, and our third teacher will be Anna Friss, two of the wonderful self-compassion teachers pioneering the teaching of mindful self-compassion in Australia and New Zealand. And now I'd like to introduce our first teacher. It's a tremendous pleasure and an honor for me to introduce Dr. Steve Hickman. Steve is the director of the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion. Steve is the person whose hand is on the rudder, steering the boat that is mindful self-compassion, navigating through the world, the person who's guiding efforts to cultivate and disseminate the mindful self-compassion training program around the world, and of course, helping to guide developments to train teachers in many languages and in many countries. And Steve is involved in an endless variety of other initiatives to spread mindful self-compassion. Steve has, of course, been a trainer, a teacher and practitioner of mindfulness for many decades as well.
Thank you, Ben. I got a little tired just hearing that introduction, but thank you very much. I'd like to just invite everyone to take a few moments to let us all arrive. We're all here, our bodies are here, but maybe giving the rest of us time to just fully get here. So maybe in keeping with Ben's guidance, perhaps putting aside devices, pens, paper, pencil, whatever all else, and taking a little time to tend to this instrument here, this one who is sitting here. Maybe even turning attention inward for just a few moments, with eyes open or closed, whatever feels right. And just taking note of this body sitting here. the points of contact between the body and the supporting surfaces of the floor, the chair, the sofa, the cushion. Perhaps noticing this body breathing. You might even want to give yourself a little smile of welcome to your own self. Ah, here you are. Come in, sit down. Good to see you. Maybe taking note of what is unfolding in your mind and heart just now. And whatever it is, letting it be what it is. Just here. Maybe you're focused or distracted, preoccupied, or worried, frustrated, in pain, sad, happy, joyful, bored, uncomfortable. Could you simply allow it to be this way because it is? Right now, in this moment, it's like this. Letting this moment be enough, this breath. And as you're ready, allowing your attention to return to this beautiful space that we've created together, this space of this retreat, allowing eyes to open if they've been closed. It's a privilege to be here with you at this turning point in our calendar, if nothing else, and to be the first teacher, presenter. And I've been thinking a lot about how I would like us to spend this time together. And as I reflect on sort of where we are and where we've traveled, especially this past year, it's been a bumpy road. And I've started to get to a point where I'm a bit saturated with clever comments about how horrendously terrible this year has been. Not to say that it hasn't been, but perhaps there is some benefit in looking at what we might have learned in this year. What was the silver lining, so to speak, we would say, one of the exercises in mindful self-compassion. So I'm hopeful that our time together will allow us to reflect on that just a little bit. But really what I wanted to talk about is, this is a time just past for many of us celebrating Hanukkah and Christmas, where gifts are exchanged and everything is wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow, in a little package. And I always like that image because I think that we should get to that point when we're all wrapped up in a nice, neat little package, when we've got it all sorted out. It's my favorite expression that I learned in traveling in the UK is this whole idea of being sorted. Not sordid with a D, but sorted, S-O-R-T-E-D, two entirely different words. But did you get that issue sorted? Have you gotten this problem sorted? Have you gotten yourself sorted? And I'm a proponent of us being unsorted. Could we allow ourselves to be, as one meditation teaches, the goal of practice is to become a compassionate mess? Could we allow ourselves to be unsorted at this moment in time, to be just who we are, just like this? Could we be unfinished? Another thing, we sort of feel like somehow at some point we're going to get finished. We're going to get everything wrapped up. We're going to figure everything out. We're going to find the answer to the question of the meaning of life and everything. But would we be able to let go and allow ourselves to be unfinished, to be a work in progress, and to be okay with that? And self-compassion certainly supports us in being able to meet ourselves just as we are, as enough. And could we, in this moment, with all our dissatisfaction with perhaps how this year has unfolded or what's ahead, to simply be, as my dear friend Julie just noted in the chat, perfectly imperfect. I have a little quote from Mark Nepo I'd like to share. It speaks to this, I think. Today I am sad, or so I thought. But more, I am tired of keeping up with all that doesn't matter. I'm sipping coffee, listening to rain. I like watching the leaves hang in long weather. I like to close my eyes and feel the rain quiet the earth. I welcome that quieting. I like to have my habits of going here and there interrupted. I was caught in the rain when coming here. The cool blotches sink in all over. The many lists I carry in my shirt are wet. I take them out to dry, and all the tasks have blurred. At last, unreadable, forgettable. We carry these lists near our heart and finger them like worry beads. It doesn't matter what's on them. They are the thieves. And it is the insidious virtue to have everything in order before we live that is the greatest thief. It is the insidious virtue to have everything in order before we live that is the greatest thief. I feel the rain drip down my neck. I think I'm becoming unfinished. Unfinished. And perhaps we can be not only unsorted and unfinished, but maybe a little bit wild. You know, wildness is an interesting idea. You know, we are thinking animals. We are still animals at some level. And I want to read one more piece to you from a beautiful book by Philip Simmons called Learning to Fall. It's a beautiful, touching, poignant book. Philip Simmons, Learning to Fall. He says, wild animals, of course, do not have to accept themselves. They can simply be. As thinking animals, we must work to create some space for our wild natures, to give them room to roam, whether keeping our awareness on the breath as we meditate, on our body's rhythm as we run, on our sensations as we sink our hands in bread dough. Our practice anchors us in our bodies, takes us further into our wild selves. With time, months, years, decades, lifetimes, did you think this would be easy? Such practice begins to open a space within us. Call it a wildlife preserve, a space where our wild selves can breathe while our judging, criticizing, worrying, doubting minds are kept safely on the other side of the fence. With practice, we find ourselves living more and more inside this preserve, a place we come to recognize as our true home. So what could we do inside this wildlife preserve of this time we have together, this space between years, the challenge of the year behind and the promise of the year ahead? We may be feeling any one of a million different things at this point in time. Hopeless, hopeful, and everything in between. So I'm going to introduce you to the possibility of practicing in a particular way that is inspired by yet one more thing I like to read, a short poem from a poet I literally just discovered yesterday. His name is Daniel Bayliss. I'm going to put his website in the chat if you'd like to look him up. But for now, just take in these words. It's called Forms of Love, and this will be the invitation for you just now, and we'll have a little practice to go with it. Sometimes I think, what's the point? Why be good? Why care? Why try to change things? Why, when we continue to wreck each other? Yet I keep moving forward. Not because I am confident of any outcomes, but because I am still susceptible to sweet things. A sunset, a cup of coffee, a warm blanket, the smell of lilacs, the sound of my mother's laughter, and all the other common forms of love. And at other times I think, what would the world look like if each of us decided to become a form of love? What would the world look like if each of us decided to become a form of love? I'd like to give that a try if you're okay with it. What form of love would you like to be in 2021? You know, we're all about New Year's resolutions, which I find to be challenging and frustrating in their own way. And also, there's an implication in a New Year's resolution that we weren't okay as we were and we need to fix something or change something. And perhaps this is a good way of setting intention, but it gets complicated. And what if we just make a simple resolution to be a form of love? So we're going to practice together in a little meditation, reflection, and we're going to consider, what form of love would you like to become in 2021? And please make sure that your circle of love is wide enough to include yourself in any of these options that I'll be offering up here. These are just some different things to consider, to try on, so to speak. Just see how it feels to be some of these different forms of love. So taking the time to maybe settle in, again, if you'd like to turn your attention inward, to allow your eyes to close or your gaze to soften, making sure that your body is as comfortable as it can be in this particular moment. Maybe dropping into awareness of your breath. You might even want to offer yourself some form of soothing or supportive touch, a hand on the heart or some other place on the body to just remind you of the way in which you would like to practice, the way in which you would like to cultivate a form of love. Maybe allowing your heart to gently open with the warmth and tenderness. And considering first, perhaps, would you like to be a form of love that I might call patient love? Allowing yourself to be a compassionate mess and fully human, perfectly imperfect. Setting a warm and kind intention toward yourself and the world, and just letting life unfold in its own time, on its own terms. Letting go of making anything happen, and instead showing up for what is here. Allowing yourself to be unsorted, unfinished, wild. Just this patient love. Trying it on. Perhaps considering, is there an image or words that you could use to remind yourself of this particular quality of love for yourself if it resonates? Maybe where your mind went was romantic love. Maybe seeing if you could resolve to let go of something that blocks you from opening your heart to another or to yourself, to meet that deep need to treasure and be treasured, to cherish and be cherished, to behold the beloved or to be the beloved. Letting longing lead you to love like thirst leads you to water. Would you like to be romantic love? Again, is there an image? Are there words maybe to make note of, to bring you back here? How about sensory love? Wherever you are, whatever your surroundings, could you take the time to lose yourself in the sensation of being human on a regular basis and open your sense gates? Could you resolve to simply notice and savor and love the smell of baking bread, the first sip of an evening glass of wine, the soft, furry ears of your animal companion, the eyes of a beloved, the warm comfort of a soft blanket on a cold night? Can you let yourself fall in love with what your senses serve you? Sensory love. How about affirmative love? Tapping into that yang compassion, the strong, motivating, protecting, providing aspect of self compassion, reflecting on what you stand for rather than what you stand against, even if it may feel like you stand alone at times. Saying yes to what is a core value and showing your love by breathing life into it and expressing it in the world through your being in the world. Affirmative love. Standing up. Perhaps the love that you wish to be is parental love. To take yourself or another person under your own wing, to protect, to provide, to nurture, to teach, to guide and inspire, to rejoice in their joys and to dry their tears of sorrow, and mostly to be patient, present, and kind. Might you consider, if it feels right, reparenting yourself in the process with patience, parental love. And these forms of love, of course, overlap and intertwine in various ways. We don't have to choose just one. This isn't an all you can eat buffet, so to speak. How about fierce love? Resolving in your heart and mind to stand up each day for what is right and what needs to be said or done, valuing justice, fairness, inclusion through your thoughts, your words, your deeds, feeling that strong back and soft front of fierce self compassion, and letting your strength be felt by others as well. Expressing your love through fierce love. Sometimes when we are deprived of a thing, we realize how much we actually valued it and maybe took it for granted in the past. You don't know what you got till it's gone, as Joni Mitchell said. So perhaps many of us have discovered the value of human connection that has been kept from us in some ways these past months. Maybe what we want to express in our way of being, in our resolve for 2021, is to be affiliative love, making these human bonds, these connections in any form, virtual or in person, whatever is possible, reaching out, reconnecting with others to strengthen and build your human family of support, collaboration, encouragement, celebration, reflection, safety, nurturing, a reminder of our common humanity. Perhaps we need, as all humans do, a little smile here of joyful love. Might we want to be joyful love in 2021? opening up the joy of surprise and humor in your life, letting yourself be endlessly amused, frequently entertained, and constantly surprised by your own mind and heart and what the world has to offer. Keeping a light and smiling heart whenever possible, and maintaining good humor even in dark moments. Perhaps smiling through the tears if you must, because they water the seeds of new things and new discoveries. Joyful love. Persistent love. Much like patient love, but maybe with a little more of an edge. Persistent love is knowing that great works take time, and showing up is 90% of the battle. When we face obstacles to expressing our love, we can maintain a warm, flexible resolve to continue, to persist. Sometimes you have to fake it until you make it, but you stay true to your intention, resolved, persistent, with warmth. So many forms of love. A child's love. Perhaps what you need sometimes, maybe now, maybe some other point, is to give yourself the gift of releasing into the support of another person now and then. For a time to idolize and adore and open your heart to someone who seems stronger, more confident, and wiser for a time so you can rest. To resign for a little time from the role of what my dear friend Shar Wilkins calls general manager of the universe. Can you resign as general manager of the universe for a little while and be cared for and guided just for now? Knowing that whoever holds us in these moments feels this way sometimes too, and may need this same release at some other time. We all need somebody to lean on. So many forms of love that we could become. Forgiving love, playful love, curious love. Invent your own love. Here is your chance. Try a few things on for size. What form of love sings to your heart? What might be the thread that connects you to life and to humanity and gets you out of bed and into the world at large? Take a few minutes, connect with what's most important to you in the midst of all else that may not be so important after all. All those lists, all those agendas. When we set all those things aside, what's important? What form of love will you be? Could you be? What would the world look like if each of us decided to become a form of love? What form of love sings to your heart? To share another poem by Daniel Bayliss. Again, I've placed his website in the chat. What is your profession? Not what makes you money. Rather, what do you wish to profess to the world? What is your statement? What is your anchor? What is your North Star? What do you seek? What do you offer? To whom do you give your love? Tell me, what is your heart's profession? Whatever form of love you chose to become, and you may have several, see if you can find words or images that will help cement them in your mind and in your heart. Is there a little vow or a devotion that you could repeat, an image you could call to mind, some words you could say, something that would help keep you on course and help you find your way back to the course, back to this intention when you wander, as you certainly will? How will you remember what kind of love you want to become? What would the world look like if each of us decided to become a form of love? Maybe just taking a few moments to let go of needing to search for the right form of love and to just not forget this one here, this tender beating heart that is just fine the way it is, perfectly imperfect. Giving a little space for all that this heart has endured. giving ourselves a little encouragement, a little warmth, a little gratitude for all that we've been and done, all that we've faced, letting go of needing to become sorted or finished or tame, embracing our wildness, our unfinishedness, our unsortedness. What would it be like to let go of needing ourselves to be any different than we are in this moment? I would love to see what form of love you wish to be. Please feel free to type into the chat what you came up with, what touched you or moved you or inspired you in some way. Hmm. Hmm. Beautiful. Like unconditional, persistent love. Ah, you get to make up your own form of love, as many of you have. So be creative. I made up most of these earlier today, so they are not chiseled in stone somewhere. They're not fixed. They can be what you need them to be. You can answer that question, that fundamental question of self compassion of what do I need? What form of love do I need? Would I like to be? Uh, Thank you to all of you for being here, and look forward to being with you over these sessions today and tomorrow. Thank you for staying up late or getting up early or whatever it's taken for you to be here for us to practice together. It's been an honor and a privilege to be with you. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Ben, for handing over. Welcome, everyone. We're just going to wait for a minute or two. They are nice emojis, aren't they? Oh, Alex. I don't know where that one came up from. Jean Julian. No, the fox is not here. No, this is a this bandana is to keep the sun off my neck. I've been out walking, and we have really two options: is to lather on a whole lot of sunscreen lotion, or wear something like a bandana to stop my neck from getting burnt terribly over summer. And the problem with suntan lotion, of course, is that it leaves a terrible stain on all my shirts. So hello, everyone. My name's John Julian. I'm just watching a few of the cheeky people in the chat lines. Not sure where they got that from. I'm in Australia, and today I live in Victoria. I normally am in southeastern part of Victoria in Australia. It's quite, it's reasonably warm here today. But today I'm actually not at home, which is known as Bunwarran country. I'm actually on holidays in a little town called Yea, and it is part of the Taungurung people's country. And so normally in Australia, and increasingly, we pay our deep respects to the custodians of the country we are in. So today I will just begin, please, by acknowledging and paying my respects to the Taungurung people, the traditional custodians of the country on which I speak from today. And to my knowledge, my ancestors and family have never had violence between the Taungurung people and my family. That is different from the Bunwarran people where I live on that land. There was violence between ancestors of mine in 1801, and those people for which I am deeply apologetic for. So it's always wonderful to follow on from Steve because I don't have to have a finished product. We can afford to lovingly be imperfect, to have a warm, hearted approach to ourselves and what we do. And today I'm going to lead in an adaptation of affectionate breathing. It's affectionate breathing, or okay. So we will be doing an adaptation of affectionate breathing, and when I do this one, you can have, it's your choice. You're invited to have your choice of focus. You can have it on a movement, swaying from one side to another, choosing one to be in and the other to be out. You can do it forwards or backwards, or just simply focus on your breath, or both. After that, I will read a poem and then some reflections. So I would invite you now to find a posture that is comfortable for your body and that you will feel supported for 20 or 25 minutes. And as you come to this posture, of doing whatever is best for you to settle. It might be just letting your shoulders drop. It might be taking a couple of breaths. It might be just moving from side to side, slowly, settling in your place, in your seat. And then letting your eyes close to a level you're comfortable with. You may keep them open, but if they are, try to defocus them. And letting go of any unnecessary tension. And as we come into this place of meditation, of reflection, wherever you are, bringing a touch to our body wherever you find it supportive. To remind ourselves that we are bringing a warm-hearted attitude, an affectionate awareness to our movement and to ourselves, the experiencer of whatever is occurring for each moment that we sit here in this place, your place. And you can leave your hand there or bring it back at any time. Or you can rest it at any time. Now just beginning to notice the movement of your body or breath. With this sense of warm-heartedness, of affection, and simply feeling your body move, yourself moving with each breath. Moving in, breathing in, I am aware, I am moving, breathing in. Moving out, Breathing out, I am aware I am breathing out. In, out. Noticing how this rhythmic movement can be nourishing. Just noticing and being with the rhythms of your movement, flowing in, flowing out. Moving in, moving out, supported in an ocean, unbounded, limitless ocean of compassion that you sail in your boat of self-compassion, traversing the gentle swells, bringing in and giving out. Compassionate energy as you safely traverse these oceans of compassion that run through all of your landscapes of your mind, gently, gently being cradled, feeling the movement of the ocean as you sail in your boat of self-compassion. Feeling the rhythms of the movement, the gentleness of the movement as it gentrifies all aspects of those landscapes of your mind, settling, calming, introducing a soothing love. And the gentle winds from that limitless, boundless, wondrous ocean of compassion Sweep all of the dust, the cobwebs, from all of those landscapes of your mind that you traverse as you sail this boat of self-compassion across the oceans of compassion, becoming gentrified, knowing that your mind is going to wander. And when you become aware of it wandering, of speaking to it with an inner smile and a warm-hearted voice. Hey you, wandering mind, why don't you come back over here and sit with us in our boat of self-compassion as we traverse this terrain of compassion. Sitting together, always, always with a warm-hearted, kind voice, inviting it back. And just letting your body move with these swells, gentle swells. As you sail your boat of compassion through these life waters of the ocean of compassion, being nourished and giving out nourishment, receiving compassionate energy and giving out compassion, receiving love, giving out love. And slowly, slowly inclining towards yourself as you would a best friend or a loved pet. Feeling your whole body subtly moving with the breath, just like the ocean of compassion. Learning as you sail to sit with patience and kindness and love towards your own self, and all others. And becoming that sense of compassionate flow as you traverse those oceans of compassion, and just feeling it, sensing it, of warmth that grows from inside, of love that expands like a beautiful lotus flower. As you traverse, learning to skipper the boat of self-compassion, as you traverse through those oceans of compassion throughout all of the landscapes of your mind, gentlifying everything with a touch of loving compassion. Simply allowing your body to feel rocked, cradled, as you sit in safety in your boat of self-compassion, bravely traversing all the oceans of compassion. Giving yourself over to the feeling of being cradled, of supported, of loved. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Simply be here, being here, simply being. Feeling the gentle warmth, the loving sway as you traverse those oceans in safety in this boat of self-compassion, as you learn to skipper it and just maybe even just giving yourself over to this sense of moving, changing compassion for yourself and all beings and all elements. Just moving, just moving. and slowly preparing to come back. So we move into the second aspect, being aware that I'm going to make a noise, not with a bell, so there'll be no ringing if you have issues of hearing, but just a knock. Staying in your meditative state, your relaxed state, if that's a truth for you, or in your sense of being gentrified through compassion. As I read Derek Walcott's Love After Love, the time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door and in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself. Give back your heart to itself. To the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. I guess this is a working reflection. I guess a working reflection, yes. I guess this is life at year's end. And many people look at setting goals with the steps forward into the next. Yet really, is this continuous pace to achieve relentlessly almost outcomes and outcomes of simply doing, more doing? Is this a life worthy of remembrance as we move on? Are we trapped by goals and outcome busyness to gain or buy things so that we can believe we are okay? Do we know these things do not cost dollars, but are a costly robber of our time? Really? Really? This perpetual buying, this perpetual wanting, this perpetual goal setting of living by outcomes? Is this what you want to be remembered for? By whom? How will your children remember you 10 years after you leave? Is this one today the one you want remembered? Is this persona you want remembered and loved, that you too would love? Really? Really? Do these goals and outcome busyness lead to a skillful love? Or simply aimed at some never-ending chase for happiness? I wonder. I wonder. A few years ago, I stopped setting goals. I stopped trying to get outcomes. Instead, I started reflecting a little on the processes of life and of living. And I now have a field that my house stands in the land, the country of the Boonwurrung people. And that field is about 2.5 acres. In Australia, about 1 hectare. And I'm turning it into slowly organic gardens and a tree polyculture, a mixture of trees. Maybe eventually a food forest. But I wouldn't claim anything so grand as that at this stage. It's simply a bunch of trees. But as I've let areas of grass just go, the original trees have seeded. We now have these wonderful wattles coming out of the soil, blackwood wattles, from which thousands and thousands of them were cut down to make way for farms and to make blackwood kitchens. But recently, as I've let parts of it go and other parts with a tree polyculture, I was standing in a field, and a flock of grass wrens flew, weaving with flow, in complete harmony with the winds of the planet, the winds of life. What does it feel like? Yes, feel. What does it feel like to feel life? Not thinking or fretting, nor continuous doing, but simply being, if only for a few moments each day, standing. And as I watched those birds and sensed the country, my sense of compassion grew, my heart grew, and each day it opens more. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by the sense of life that is coming back to that place. Everywhere I now dig, there are hundreds of worms. The soil will have more than 5,000 kilometres, 3,000 miles of tunnels, worm tunnels, aerating the soil, caring for other forms of life in the soils. And the sense of compassion grows. And as it grows, my own self-compassion matures. And I'm forever grateful to the Centre for Mindful Self-Compassion, from whence I was able to deepen my compassion practices, maturing the self-compassion components. And yes, in my paddock, there are thousands upon thousands now of insects. And I do sometimes call it, with a great sense of warmth and humour, that I'm really developing an insect hotel. It really is a wonderful thing to see. And of course, the bird life has increased enormously from a simple act of caring and trying to learn a compassionate wisdom for the land. How do we, Steve's words of such deep, aspiring possibility. What would it be like if we choose to be a form of love? What a wondrous thing. And how do we move into such a process? Well, I'll give you my answer now. I don't know. That's a path we have to find ourselves. But we're not going to get it by setting goals and outcomes, because we'll be too busy of constant doing, of never coming to a spot where we sit. But maybe if we come with an intention, a motivation of exploring compassion in our future, a capable compassion that allows, even cradles, our emotions from our old brains and weaves them into skillful responses to life, learning that all emotions have a function. They're good signs for us to say, I need to pay attention here, with a skillfulness, with compassion, and with self-compassion. So that we learn Steve's words of wisdom and the words of Derek Walcott when he says, greet yourself arriving at your own door. And I wonder that maybe there are a couple of processes. One is of considering our future values, which we can do reasonably simply in a quick way, but it may take you a decade to get into a solid shape, or for some, a day. It took me years. But I'm a slow learner, which I love being. But maybe if we think at a point in time in the future when we're closer to leaving this world, and we're looking back with a great sense of achievement or of me, the word I prefer is contentment. To this day today, and I reflect and look from that future point to this day today, and I have a great sense of contentment. What would be the intentions and values that I espoused? And we can start to set our compassion compass from such sorts of activities. But we need to do them often, reflecting. But maybe one way also to start is to, rather than look at what we're going for, but simply to look and consider the processes that feed us. What are the nutrients in our life? And what and how do they affect us? Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master and peace activist, outlined 4 nutrients. 1 was edible food. 2 is sense impressions. 3 are our intentions in life. And the 4th is our seed consciousness, the storehouse. The edible food, what's the outcome of eating reasonable food, mixed food, of eating a broad array of foods, but a focus on fresh foods rather than tinned and processed food? Does eating fresh food support local farmers? What's the effect of that on ourselves and on the farmers? Through our sense impressions, what do I bring in through my ears? Am I listening to swear words from my self-critic? Or swear words from others? Am I swearing all day in my own mind? But what comes through the radio, the news? And what comes through my eyes? Now, I can't talk about olfactory stuff anymore because my sense of smell is gone pretty well. But what also comes into us and affects our mind that we incorporate through our tongue, the words we speak, the things we taste. And what comes in through the other sense impression, our body, our feelings, plus also the things we touch. Our skin, the largest sense organ that we actually have. How do these all affect our mind? And how does that all together affect our sense of ego and our sense of compassion? Does it develop a fear-based brain? Or does it develop a affiliative, compassionate brain? And then our intentions. You know, there's a vast difference between getting outcome. I'm going to be successful at getting outcome, to, oh, I might explore compassion. I might explore the nutrients in the next year that I take into my body through all of these things. And lastly, how does this all affect and interrelate in and out from our seed consciousness? Which in America, there's a great story about two wolves, an angry one and a loving one. Which one reigns supreme? It's the one that you feed that reigns supreme. So when we take all of these seed consciousnesses, these little seeds, millions of little seeds in our old brain, our new brain, which ones are we learning to feed? Which ones are we watering? Maybe simply instead of having any goals or setting outcomes, but just exploring. What are the nutrients? Do I become more loving, more accepting, more compassionate to myself and to the world around me? It's a process. Maybe that's really what could be a useful path. Thank you for listening. We will now go into a period of silent reflection and meditation of your choice for 15 minutes. Thank you.
Kia ora, Tato. Welcome to all of you. Wherever you are in the world, wherever you find yourself, here at the closing of 2020, the warmest of welcomes to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. My name is Anna Fries, and it is such a privilege to be here with you. It is wonderful for me to see so many familiar faces when I look at this screen. It's amazing. I see Kim, and I see Matthew, and I see Daralee, and I see Jules, and I see Penny. So thank you for being here. Thank you to Centre for Mindful Self-Compassion and to Layla and Ben for the extraordinary gift of these meditation spaces that have sustained so many people over so many months of this year. Such an extraordinary gift of love. Thank you, Steve, for so skillfully setting the scene for today's silent retreat and the different kinds of love that you offered. I thought that was so thought-provoking and such a gift. Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for your smile, for everything you offered. But for me personally, going after you was for your smile. Every time you smiled, I smiled. And I was aware of how contagious the smile is and how uplifting it felt to be in the presence of your smile. Thank you. I also want to say I love the fact that you are turning the field that you are currently caretaking into an organic garden filled with trees. It feels like a very loving pursuit. Love in action. I think that's what compassion means. This morning, as I was preparing for today, I just happened to, and I so often do this, I just reached to my pile and I picked up a book. And this book arrived for me as a gift out of the blue from a friend just 4 weeks ago. This book, I hope you can see it maybe, is called Aroha. It is written by a New Zealand psychiatrist, Dr. Hinemoa Elder, and this book sold out in its first print run in New Zealand within days. Such is the increased recognition of the treasure that is the Māori heritage and culture of Aotearoa. Aroha is an ancient Māori word which literally means love, compassion, respect, empathy. And the book is a collection of 52 whakatoki, which are traditional Māori life lessons. Such wisdom. When I picked up this book, it opened to this particular whakatoki, and I thought it was very appropriate to share as we begin. Aroha mai, aroha atu. Love others and love will come back to you. This whakatoki speaks to the power of a daily practice of connecting to the energy of aroha, of the exquisitely nourishing practice of aroha. It fuels our passion for life, for joy, for living, for connection. So in the spirit of aroha, I invite you to join me in taking a few minutes for us all to arrive here together. Even though we might be physically apart, we are joined in this collective intention to be here to practice self-compassion together. So I invite you to drop into this inner space, to find yourself in the room that you're in. Drop back inward into this body sitting. Maybe even closing your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Maybe even just partially closing your eyes. Becoming aware of what is supporting you right now. The cushions beneath you, the chair behind you. Becoming aware of the ground beneath you. Of Papatuanuku, our Mother Earth. Papatuanuku. The foundation on which we all stand, on which all life stands. Feeling the pull of gravity pulling you towards the heart of Papatuanuku, collectively holding us in place, all of us together in this place, wherever that might be. And maybe just checking in with yourself, maybe asking yourself the question, how am I? How am I, dear body, right now? If you've been here for a while, what's different now? If you've just arrived, how am I now? Feeling the strength of your spine. The spine, the ribs, the structure and scaffolding of your human body. And at the same time, connecting with the softness of your belly, softness of your heart. Maybe offering that soft belly or your heart a gentle supportive touch. Just feeling that. What does it feel like to offer this body gentle, loving touch? Maybe just considering, how open am I? How closed am I? Okay, I'm back again now. Thank you. I was just checking in with whatever is present, knowing that everything is welcome. If there is ease present, Savor that ease. If there are painful feelings present, they're welcome. Let them be there. Know that you're not alone. Maybe there is joy present at this wonderful connection among us. A whole lot is welcome. Maybe just taking a few moments now to become aware of your body breathing, all of our bodies breathing. So once again, feeling the breath. Feeling your breath moving in your body, this body breathing. Feeling the countless molecules of oxygen being carried in with each in-breath. Filling your lungs, traveling on your bloodstream to all your body, nourishing you, giving you what you need. And feeling the increased warmth of the out-breath, the releasing of what is no longer required back out into the world. Just allow your awareness to remain on the breath. You might wish to allow your awareness to land a little more on the out-breath. Not in a striving kind of a way, but kind of a resting. It's resting on the out-breath. Making that out-breath be really easeful, gentle, complete. Noticing the beginning of the out-breath, the middle, and the end. And then the pause, the gap, the still point at the end of the out-breath, before the out-breath once more becomes an in-breath. There's nothing you need to do. Rest on the breath. You may wish now to give yourself permission to drop down another layer. Find your way to your heart space. Feeling your heart. Feeling the space around your heart. What's there? What's present there? Maybe now feeling, imagining you could feel a warm hand on your back, just behind your heart space. Can you feel that? Maybe even leaning back a little into that warm hand, that imaginary warm hand. Coming home to the knowledge that we're all here together, not separate, connected in ways that we always have been, always will be. But sometimes we forget. Here today, I invite you to remember. I would love to read you my favorite poem from 2020. It's called Singularity. And it speaks to this idea that we are all connected. We are all home. It goes like this. Do you sometimes want to wake up to the singularity we once were? So compact, nobody needed a bed or food or money. Nobody hiding in the school bathroom or home alone, pulling open the drawer where the pills are kept. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. Remember, there was no nature, no them, no tests to determine if the elephant grieves her calf or if the coral reef feels pain. Trashed oceans don't speak English or Farsi or French. Would that we could wake up to what we were when we were ocean, and before that to when sky was earth and animal was energy and rock was liquid and stars were space and space was not at all, nothing. Before we came to believe humans were so important. Before this awful loneliness. Can molecules recall it? What once was? Before anything happened? No I, no we, no one, no was, no verb, no noun, only a tiny, tiny dot brimming with is, 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 all, everything, home. So my friends, welcome once again. You know, in addition to the many ways that 2020 has been described, it has indeed also been a time of pause. And as I mentioned, I'm so grateful for the Centre for Mindful Self-Compassion for formalizing these pauses in the form of these daily meditation offerings that I've had an opportunity to lead from time to time. Hundreds of people have found refuge in these meditation spaces and the comfort of common humanity of knowing they weren't alone. So many of us have found a refuge, a kind of a place of calm in the midst of a storm through the regular practice of simply coming to stillness, wrapping ourselves up in kind of a loving embrace. For me, when Layla invited me to help with this meditation today, I was so amazed when she gave me my timing, 3 o'clock in New Zealand on the afternoon of what is here December the 31st. Almost exactly to this day, 2 years ago, almost exactly to this time, we're in summertime, remember, and it is our summer holidays, I needed to draw very deeply on my own personal practice of self-compassion. I was, as I say, 2 years ago, swept out to sea on my paddleboard. I was literally lost in a stormy sea, and a storm that had blown up from nowhere. It was completely terrifying to begin with, at least, and I thought that I might die out there at times, and I had lost sight of the shore amongst the waves. It was an hour and a half before I got rescued, which is quite a long time. So I did the only thing I could do. I found refuge in this practice, this very practice. I found refuge in self-compassion. I found refuge in my breath. I acknowledged my fear. I spoke very gently and very kindly to myself, and I found that I could actually care about my suffering. I wasn't able to do it perfectly. I wasn't able to do it continuously. But I was able to tell myself over and over that it was okay. Right here in this moment, in this breath, I was okay. All I needed to do was to hold on to my board, hold on to my breath, breath by breath. And that's what I did. When I was eventually rescued and got back to the safety of shore, I was able to reflect with the deepest of gratitude on the raft of emotions that I had presented to me, and how self-compassion hadn't calmed the seas. It hadn't stilled the waves. I had still felt great fear, but I had felt more easefulness with it. It had been a tough ride. And I thought that, but I was okay. And I really thought how that experience has been such a metaphor for this being human, for this human life, for all the storms that we find ourselves in, for the surprising, unpredictable ways that suffering arises for all of us out of nowhere. Here it is. We can't predict it. We can't prepare for it. All we can do is familiarize ourselves with the pathway home. Familiarize ourselves with the practice of dropping anchor. So, yeah, self-compassion, huh? That's what the practice is. A training for meeting our inevitable suffering with wisdom and love, with the types of love that Steve talked about: parental love, affirmative love, maybe even fierce love. Working out what love it is that I most need right now. So perhaps a silver lining of the storminess of 2020, and it has indeed been a time of great suffering for so many, may be an invitation to recommit ourselves to the practice of self-compassion in 2021 and beyond. The kindest thing we can do for ourselves, for the ones we love, and maybe for the struggling world, is to drop our natural resistance to each moment of suffering. Maybe even leaning into it a little, knowing that this is what it means to be human. So I invite you to join me, please, in a meditation now. It's going to be a variation on loving kindness for ourselves and others. And maybe it will last for about 20 minutes. So you may wish to make yourself really comfortable again. Drop in. When you find yourself comfortable, just finding your breath once more. Finding your breath again. Maybe closing your eyes. Finding the beginning of your breath, the middle of your breath, the top of your breath. Maybe even the pause between your in-breath and your out-breath. That place, that moment when the mechanism of breathing so effortlessly changes. There's the tiniest of pause. Perhaps just noticing that. If it feels comfortable. If it doesn't, you have options. You might wish to just feel your body moving with your breath. No striving. Just gentleness here. Gentleness, that's all. You may wish, as you breathe, to imagine a beautiful silk scarf made from all your favorite colors of silk. This beautiful silken scarf, imagine it perhaps being drawn up the front of your body as you breathe in. So feel the silken scarf being drawn all the way from the fronts of your feet, fronts of your legs, moving up the fronts of your torso, across your face as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, feeling this silken scarf falling softly down the back of your body as you breathe out. Feel the coolness as the silk touches your skin. As you breathe in again, just breathe in something good for yourself, something nourishing, something delightful and loving. Breathe it in. Quality of kindness. Breathe it in. Feel it. As you breathe out, simply feeling the ease of breathing out, letting go. On your next in-breath, if it feels right, offering yourself a loving kindness mantra, phrase. You may have one of your own loving kindness phrase. Welcome to use that. Or you might also want to try this one that I may offer, seeing how that feels, seeing how it lands. Giving yourself permission to alter the words, to be your own editor. Maybe try this as you breathe in. May I be peaceful and free from unnecessary suffering. May I care about my suffering. I love you. May I be peaceful, free from unnecessary suffering. May I care about my suffering. I love you. May I be peaceful, free from unnecessary suffering. May I care about my suffering. I love you. Repeating these phrases over and over to yourself as you breathe. If you find your mind is wandering, perhaps reconnecting with the sense of that warm hand on your back, guiding you home to your body, home to your heart. Home to this moment. May I be peaceful, free from unnecessary suffering. May I care about my suffering. I love you. Perhaps now bringing to mind someone you care about, or someone you know who is suffering in some way right now, or perhaps even groups of people who are suffering. If it feels right, perhaps offering them similar phrases. Once more, you may have your own. You might wish to try this. May you be peaceful and free from unnecessary suffering. May you care about your suffering when it arises. I care about your suffering. I love you. May you be peaceful and free from unnecessary suffering. May you care about your suffering. I care about your suffering. I love you. Just repeating these phrases, offering them to another, to groups of others, coming back to yourself whenever you feel you need to or you wish to. May I be peaceful, free from unnecessary suffering. May I care about my suffering. I love you. Knowing that you can always come home to your own loving kindness. To the voice calling you home. I'd like to read you a poem by a New Zealand poet, my favourite New Zealand poet. You can let these words be in the background of your meditation if you wish to just stay resting in these loving kindness phrases for yourself and other. You might make a little space for these words of poetry to land as well. It's whatever feels right, just offer them to you. The voice calling you home. Take off your muddied work coat, toiling so hard to make yourself something else. Stop shouting for the knocking to finish. You simply need to open the door. Someone will hand you a rich, moist cake and say, "The time for celebration has come. Time for you to rest, my friend. Your searching has come to an end. Open the door and come right in. You will find the handle on the inside of your heart. Someone has left the light on with a note to welcome you home. Take off your dusty traveller's clothes. Leave them right there on the road. Someone will run you a long, hot bath and say, you can soak as long as you need. Hear the knocking of your soul asking you to answer the door. Leave your taskmaster's clothes on the doorstep as someone has laid you out artist's clothes. They are clean and bright, smelling expectant and new, waiting patiently here for you. Someone has turned back and warmed your bed, fragrant pillows to welcome you in, and an old familiar voice hums to you soft and low and sings, do you not know how fine you are? Do you not know how fine? It's time to come home and rest, my friend. It's time to come in from the cold. May I be peaceful and free from unnecessary suffering. May I care about my suffering. I love you. And so, my friends, as we are present to the final hours of 2020, I thought about what it was that I would like to leave you with. And it's really this simple. And these are not my words, these are the words of Raymond Carver, poet of the last century. And it is called Late Fragment. And it truly moves me. It goes like this. I invite you to close your eyes. I invite you to put your hand on your heart. It's very short. It's maybe only a few breaths. Feel that warm hand on your back. Feel the support of Papatūānuku as you open your heart to these lines. It goes like this. And did you get what you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what was that? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on this earth. That's my final poem for you today. And I would also like to leave you with one other beautiful word from Te Reo Māori. It's my word for 2020, for 2021. Maybe it's my word for the rest of my life. It's aroha nui, which means aroha, as I described at the beginning of the session, but aroha nui is kind of like a bigger, all-encompassing love, a bigger, all-encompassing love to each and every one of you. May you feel yourself wrapped up in aroha and aroha nui. May you call yourself beloved. May you feel yourself beloved. May you and all beings be free from suffering. May you and all beings on this earth feel themselves loved now and all days. Ngā mihi nui. Thank you for the privilege of being here with you all. Thank you for the beautiful faces I see out there. Thank you for this sense of love that I can feel all the way here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is the kind of the bottom of the earth. Please stay. I know that Cecilia is going to offer you some beautiful words in closing. I wish each and every one of you everything good. Namaste. Cecilia.
Thank you, Anna. Just taking a moment to just allow everything that's been offered today to just settle, to be with your experience of these practices, how they've touched you. Just taking a moment to be with this just as it is. With yourself just as you are. And as we approach the close of this retreat, poetry just seems to be most appropriate. This is a poem by John O'Donohue, A Blessing for the New Year. On the day when the weight descends on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. When your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the currach of thought and the stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. I invite you to take a moment now, if you wish, to reflect on your experience during the retreat. Choosing what's best for you, but perhaps scanning the landscape of your heart and asking yourself, what touched me? What moved me? What shifted within me? And if you feel called to share, please use the chat as a way to enter a short reflection, a few words around a particular takeaway that you would like to share. Such lovely words and reflections, much gratitude expressed and love. Such beauty in the sharing today. From Steve's offering of reflecting and choosing, what kind of love do I want to be? And John's reflections on letting go of goals and outcome. allowing ourselves to float in the boat of self-compassion. And Anna's amazing story of self-compassion being a refuge in unpredicted storm. And that warm hand on our backs, offering us support, guiding us home. And so I'd like to offer my thanks, our thanks, for being here and creating this amazing circle of kindness and compassion, this community that's come together to share this time. And I wanted to also let you know that if you want to continue with these practices that's been mentioned, that they are offered on a daily basis. The Circles of Practice public offering has sessions that are available at 5 a.m., 7 a.m., and 4 p.m. Pacific time. There's a weekly group, an affinity group for those who identify as LGBTQI2S+, and a monthly session for those who identify as BIPOC. And I will take a moment now to post that link for the public circles. All right, here we go. And in addition to the public offering, for those of you who have completed the foundational MSc courses, specifically the 8-week course, the 10-week live online, or the 5-day intensive, you're welcome to complete an application to participate in the Circles of Practice for MSc graduates. This COP, Circles of Practice for Graduates, offers 6 weekly sessions. They're drop-in and don't require the sign-up ahead of time that the public offering does. And so now I will post that link. And the Circles of Practice meditation sessions are all facilitated by senior and certified teachers from around the globe that are volunteering their time and their talent. So if today's mini retreat was of benefit to you, and you wish to make the Circles of Practice a viable and sustainable program, please consider making a donation, although it's not required for participating. So I will post that link now as well. And so I want to say, with deep gratitude for participating today, and please know that tomorrow there is a second mini retreat on December 31st in this same format. And Chris Germer will lead the first session at 7 a.m. Pacific time, followed by 2 additional sessions, 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Pacific time, led by senior MSc teachers. And as today, these sessions will also be live streamed on the CMSC YouTube page. And I will post the link to the YouTube page for tomorrow. And the recording of today's session and tomorrow's sessions will be available on the CMSC YouTube channel in the near future. And so in closing, may all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be healthy and live with ease in this coming year. So please feel free to unmute now and bid each other farewell, the many that have joined us from around the globe. Until we meet again. So feel free to unmute if you wish.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you
See
so
you,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Happy
you.
New
Much,
Year.
Welcome.
everyone.
Bye. Bye,
Same
Alex. Bye,
here.
Kim.
Bye. Stay
Thank
safe.
Bye,
you.
Kevin.
Blessings to
See
you
you.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Alex.
Gotta be
And
good.
Thank you,
Gracias.
Alex, Susan,
Everyone.
hi
Naomi.
Carla, hi Pam,
so good to see all of you.
John.
hi Jules, hi
Bye.
Pam,
Bye,
Bye.
Pam.
Everybody, Happy New Year.
hi
Bye,
Mercy,
Michael.
bye.
hi Alex.
Take care.
Bye.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Joseph.
Ben.
Hey,
Bye.
Monica, good
Bye,
to
Anna.
see you here.
Hey.
Bye Gwen.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Stay
Bye.
safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Valerie. Bye,
God,
Gail.
that's so insane.
Bye,
See you,
Julie.
Alex.